Hello everyone and welcome to Thespie Thursday. This evening we have the amazing Danielle Tarento, everyone.
Yay!
Me and Danielle did a show, I think it's about 10 years ago. It might even be more, which is scary.
It's 10 and a bit, yeah. Neither of us are old enough to have done something professional 10 years ago. So let's just go with
not.
4 years ago.
It was 4 years ago. It was an amazing project. I had the best time. Obviously met Danielle on that production and, love her. So I'm very excited to speak to you today. And I just wanted to ask you more questions about kind of your production work and producing. So firstly, I guess, for everyone who, doesn't know, how did you get into it? How did it all start for you?
So I trained as an actor. I was an actor. That was the beginning of my career. And I had I don't know, just under 10 brilliant years being an actor. But I became an actor because I love theatre, and most of my career was telly and film, which was really great for the bank balance. But it just sort of got to the point where I didn't know whether my soul was being fed as much as I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And those life-changing moments, and they often happen when you're about to hit a big birthday. And I was just about to turn 30, and I remember thinking to myself, is this what can I imagine having this conversation with myself and getting the same answer if I'm just about to turn 40? And the answer that was definitely not. So then I thought, okay, I have to do something else. And I didn't really know what else to do because I'd never really thought of there ever needing to be anything else.
Yeah.
What I did know that I wanted to go back to the theatre. I just somehow wanted to be back in that live, crazy, scary, anything can happen space that you just sort of don't get on telly, right?
No,
it's amazing, but it's not the same. And I'd always got a good head for figures, and I'd always been sort of smart and clever and remembering things and good at the academic side of things as well. But I don't really think I knew what a producer was, and I don't think many people do until they meet one or work with one, or it's a funny old thing. And a friend of mine was doing some shows, and his producer had got another job and wasn't sort of really around. So I went in and helped out. And after 2 shows, I thought, I think I've just produced a show. I was very naive at the time because I thought, is that all it is? That's it. I get to drink champagne on a press night. Lovely. So that, and obviously there was a lot more to it, and at that point I certainly hadn't started raising any money or getting investment, that sort of thing, which is another whole kettle of fish. But what I did is I loved it, and I loved I loved the control, I loved the being in charge, I loved the decision making, I loved not having to rely on other people to get things done. So it's my sort of anal retentive megalomaniac control freak part of my brain sort of thought, this is it, we've finally found it. And you know what? I haven't looked back. And it went from very small, and then I co-founded the Many a Chocolate Factory, and then I was there for 3 years, and then I went freelance, and it's the right decision.
Yeah. It's like, well, you can tell that. Obviously, we've only done the one show. We've only done the one show together, but it was, you're in your element when you're, doing what you love.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? I think that's the funny thing about this industry is, we think we know what we want, but sometimes you just have to turn right and you find the real thing. And it's the glorious thing about this industry is that nothing you've done in the past is invaluable. It always carries forward. I know I'm a better producer because I was an actor.
Yeah.
I know I can deal with actors better. I know the process is easier for me because I've seen it from a completely different side.
Yes, exactly. You've got the best of both worlds, really, for being an actor. How has it been for you? Well, obviously, theatre's been a tricky old time for the theatrical industry. Just a little bit, just a tad. But how has it been? How have you been coping with, the production side? Because everything, little things have been able to happen, but not in like the capacity that we're used to. How has that worked for you? And
it's been sort of unbelievable, really. You sort of can't get your head around it. Quite a lot of these talks where I sit down and talk to people about stuff, and you think, oh my God, when you start analysing, you think, first of all, it's nearly a year.
I know. What is happening?
Yeah. So anyway, I was in a really lucky position in that I had decided that I wasn't going to do a lot of work in 2020. I'd had a very busy 2 years before that, and I sort of thought, do you know what, a little bit of a back. And also, do you remember that thing called Brexit that used to be a problem?
Yeah.
major problem in the world. I mean, it still is, but so I was going to take a bit of a back seat. So I was really lucky that I didn't have to cancel anything. I didn't have to lay anyone off, and I didn't lose anyone any money when it first hit. Obviously, as time went on, there were things that were in the diary that didn't happen, but they were so fully formed and so fully realised. It wasn't like we were literally pulling the plug on a performance night. So I appreciate that I was much luckier than some who have found it much more devastating financially and emotionally.
Yeah.
I certainly think the first sort of 3 or 4 months of lockdown were absolutely glorious. The sun was shining. It was the first enforced holiday, and I thought, well, this is all right, because we'll be back off in the autumn, won't we? It'll be fine. So just make the most of the fact that there's some enforced time off. Enjoy it. Well, yeah, that sort of ran out in about September. I thought, okay, this is not going to plan. I wrote it, so nobody listened. Apparently, the world is still failing us. And then, of course, we had that sort of tentative reopening, and I was very much, okay, I want to be at the coalface, I want to be the one doing it, and I want to put some stuff on. And I planned a series of Christmas, because Christmas was the inevitable time with the next thing it would be happening. And I also did my first ever kids show with your friend, Neil McDermott. And Gina Beck. They wrote a show and were looking for a producer. And I thought, why the hell? I mean, I hate kids. I hate Christmas. It seems just brilliant. I'll tell you something. However much you hate these two things, Christmas shows for kids really work.
Yeah, I bet.
So anyway, so we did that. And the really sad thing was, and I don't know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. You look back and you go, was it stupid? Was it stupid to think that we could get through that? Should we not have done it? Was it too risky? I can say for me, my own mental health, I got to do something in the theatre. I mean, we only got a third of the way through the run. For the concert series, we only got to do one. We literally opened and closed on the final night.
Wow.
And I lost money, which I can't afford, which no one can afford to lose money at the moment, but I did. But it was worth it, because I sat in the theatre with a takeaway pret-a-manger, whatever, doing a test. And that in itself reminded me that I'm a human being in my world.
Yes, exactly. It's important. And what I love about the theatrical industry is we don't give up. Yes, we've had so many openings, so many closures, but we keep trying. And like you said, you want to be at the forefront of that. You're a person, you want to make stuff happen. And I think we've got to keep going. We've got to keep opening and closing. Like, it's got to keep going on.
Having said that, though, I definitely think I'm not necessarily the one that wants to be the first person to open a show next time. I think I gave that a go. That was lovely. Somebody else's turn now. I'm sort of, I realistically, I mean, we're sort of, the next thing is sort of September, October. I'm not convinced.
Really?
No, I'm not. Because it doesn't work socially distanced.
No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't work. No. And I mean, the whole experience of live theatre is that you're the atmosphere of everyone there, and that's what makes it electric and magic. When you just it's not the same. I agree. But for you, what's on whenever this will be? What's on your hit list? What's something that you've always really wanted to produce, or something? Is there a dream out there?
Well, there are a couple of shows, but I can't mention them, because the minute I mention else gone bloody do. I mean, that's not true. There is one show which anyone who has ever met me will know what it is. I'm not going to say what it is, but
I don't think I know
so easily, just by reading anything. Which is my sort of the only show I've ever wanted to produce, and everything else has been leading up to that point. And the rights are sort of not available, but they sort of are, but they're not.
I might know, but I won't say.
Yeah. You're not, no, exactly. Let people go and find out for themselves.
Yeah.
Writing readers, the 1 millionth person to get the answer right can have a free ice cream at my next show. So I mean, there is, and there's always that aspiration to, there's titles out there that we want that that haven't been done, or we want to do in a different way than the way they were done before. So there's always stuff. I mean, there are so many more producers doing the sort of work that I do than there were when we started. So there is always, sort of a bit of a race sometimes. And there were a couple of occasions in 2019 where I saw announcements for shows that I believed I was in negotiation for.
No.
Serious? But yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that was but again, it's very eye-opening, and it just shows, and also there does seem to be a slightly different way of working. People aren't necessarily always doing like doing the obvious. So we're meant to go to a rights holder and we're meant to apply for the right through the license house and all the rest of it, and it comes back. And but now with the internet and everybody's accessible,
Yes.
why don't you just get on a plane and go to New York and take the composer out for drinks?
Yes. Yeah.
There's just all different ways of doing things. So yeah, got to keep up with the kids.
Haven't we all, Danielle? Haven't we all?
Remember when we used to be them, though?
Yeah. God, yes, I do. People now ask me for advice, and I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm 12. I don't know any of the answers."
Exactly. I'm going to go with my mom.
Yeah, it's such a weird transition. But what do you think? What do you think in your career has been like the most impactful production that you've worked on, like personally, and maybe like career longevity and stuff like that?
I find that really hard because in a way, it's sort of, it's not as trite as which is your favourite child to a parent of 3 kids, but it is sort of, because I think every show has had some relation to what has happened next, how my growth has happened, what I've learned, or composers that I've built up relationships with that I've then gone on to work with a lot more, those sorts of things. I mean, I'd be lying if I said Titanic wasn't a massive part of my life. Yeah. Can you believe we're going into year 8 of Titanic?
Isn't that crazy?
Now, obviously there won't be anything this year, but there will be news, and there will be news soonish about more.
Good.
I do believe I will be doing that show for the rest of my life, and that's fine. That's fine. If that's my Les Mis or my Phantom on a smaller scale, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
But for the world, those sorts of things that you just think. When we started that production at Southwark Playhouse in a 200-seat venue 8 years ago, little did we think we'd be jumping all over the world with it.
Those are the best moments, though, aren't they? Something that you don't think is going to blow up like it has. It's an amazing journey to be a part of. I feel the same with obviously Six and stuff. Doing that in Edinburgh Festival, being like, oh, this will be a bit of a jolly.
I think that is the most ridiculous success story there's been. How it is a thing of dreams.
Yeah.
That 2 5-year-olds sat in a bedroom, wrote a show, and 7.5 minutes later are opening on Broadway.
Yeah, can you cope? They wrote the whole thing in like 10 days or something ridiculous. Like, it's just insane. None
of it should be allowed. None of it should be possible.
No.
And yet off they go. And there will be 2,000 other people out there going, oh, I can do that, who will fail like everybody else has. These 2 are special.
Yeah, they are very special.
What a journey. And to have started in it as well, that would have been amazing for you, to have been the original.
It's insane. It's changed my whole life. Like, we knew each other obviously a very long time ago doing the show, and stuff like, which was incredible. I loved it. I love lots of things that I've done, but there was something with this that people actually kind of take me seriously now, and I'm like, I'm literally the same person I was 10 years ago when you met me, but people now think that I'm something, and I'm like, I'm actually the same, but thank you.
Yeah, but you're also Julia Roberts now as well, so that makes you even more of something.
Well,
What can you do?
Well, what can you do? What has been like, or what do you? I was going to say, what is the toughest project, but more to the point, what's the toughest thing in like a new, say like a new musical or a new reimagined version of something? What's the toughest thing, do you think?
Again, I mean, every show presents its own problems and its own difficulties, and certainly as soon as you've got over one hurdle, you think, there, nailed it, and the next show, think, I'm ready for that when it happens, and it never does happen. Something else happens. So you're always learning, you're always sort of modifying your. I suppose the hardest thing is, and this is about humanity, and this is about self-doubt and us as humans. It's just about, will anyone care? Will anyone like my child? If I've birthed this child, I hold it out to you and say, please look at it. And what happens if no one likes it?
Yeah.
And that happens every time. Even when in fact, the more you know in the rehearsal room that it's amazing, the scarier that is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of a pressure then, isn't it?
Yeah. And then especially if you've been successful, if your last couple of shows have been successful, you then go, oh my God, they're expecting it to be good. And it has to be better, and it has to be more, and it has to be, oh my God, the pressure. So I think the other thing that's hard, that's in a more practical sense, and as it has always been, and it will always continue to be, and it will get much worse as we go forward from this, is who in their right mind is stupid enough to invest in theatre?
Oh gosh.
I'm no use without people giving me money to put the shows on. That's how it works. That's how commercial theatre works. And you think, God, you must be mad. If you look at the statistics of how many shows fail and don't pay back and close, and you just think, oh God. Anyway, so they're all crazy people who are philanthropists who love it. Good on them.
And I mean, I'm hoping that after all of this, people will like run back to the theatre, because there'll have been such a drought of any sort of creativity that people will just flock back and we'll all be okay. This is what I'm hoping for.
We have to hope that, because otherwise we're screwed. I mean, at least we've got an excuse now. If the pandemic's sort of over and there's a dearth of theatre, then we're in trouble. But we will survive, because we have to survive, because a world without theatre, a world without the arts is inconceivable.
What's the point? I don't want to be here, actually. So
I'm going to do a little plug for something which is nothing to do with me. There was Alan Yentob did I don't actually know what program it was. Well, BBC One last night, so it'll be on iPlayer. It was, I think it was called When We Come Back or something like that, and it was about the arts and and he focused on various different things. There was a big old article with Matthew Warchus at the Old Vic, was the sort of theatre element of it, but they covered dance and music and all sorts of things. Watch it, because it painted a sort of really bleak picture, which I think is important that the general public who might not be theatre goers can see.
Yeah.
But also there was so many uplifting things in it, just that our community, our wider community, is absolutely desperate to come back to doing what we were, and the public are too.
Yeah, I really do think they are. I think it will be okay. It might be a while, but I think we'll come back strong. I do think we will. But for people who are watching this, I was going to say young people, but actually I don't mean that. Anyone who's watching this and who aspires to, be a producer or wants to produce something, is there some like maybe one bit of advice you can give to them that you've on the way?
I don't think I think I'll give two, because I can't give one. So the first one is a really good start, because there are now some good courses out there. You can actually now go to do an MA in producing at various drama schools. That's worth looking at. But the thing that I would say to give you a really good insight into the industry, but also that opens up your little address book to people that you might never have thought to know, is the Stage 1 course. Go and do that Stage 1 course. It's 3 days. It's a bit of a chunk of money, but it's worth it, because it just opens doors. It gets you into the world. You feel like you're part of something, and that's really valuable. So that, but the other thing, and I know this sounds crass, but the best way to be a producer is to be a producer. Do it. You can sit in a classroom as long as you want. The only way you really learn how to be a producer is to get on and do it and put something on. Yeah. And it can be one person in a cardboard box it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but just do it. Learn the process of producing. Throw yourself into it. Just got to go. There's a lot you need to know. There's a lot of specific skills, but so much of being a producer is common sense. Being good with people, learning about what people want, and doing it. It's a practical job. So if you're listening to this, do it. Do it. But don't do it with a title that I want to do. No, don't steal any of Danielle's titles, please. So last question. What do you think, what have you learned over this whole period that we've been through for the last year? It doesn't have to be theatre related. It could just be something that you've learned for yourself. But what has come out of this for you? That it is okay to take 5 minutes off. Very good. I really do think that I've set myself such unrealistic targets. Like, I can't go to bed unless I've at least read every single email that's come in that day. I might leave it to respond to, but I have to know. I literally can't sleep. So what? Literally, the world doesn't stop. So just to be a little bit less pressure. The other thing is, I'm getting older. And I know we sort of joke about, because we both are still only 25, but I'm really not. I mean, I'm like really not. And that's, and so like genuinely those things where people say, I am feeling older, like I make noise when I get out of a chair, those, and just things just don't feel quite as youthful. And what's interesting is it's not like a slow decline. It's like 1 minute you're fine and the next minute you're old. No, don't say. And I'm sure it's going to get much worse. Oh my God. So I guess that thing of like, I'm quite happy where I am. I mean, not specifically. And there are the dogs. Oh, sorry. Come here, treat. brilliant.
This happens in every interview. It's like a thing. What's this?
Is it like your dog saying, we're done with her now?
Yes, we're done. Sit down, please. Right, stay there. Oh, we were so close to doing a whole interview without them kicking off. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, just I'm very happy with where I'm at with my career. I think I've got over the period of being really ambitious. I don't think I need to claw for the next thing. I'm not desperate to be up the ladder. I'm really happy where I am. And to know that I think I've actually become more, sounds wanky, in control of my own destiny, having had some time off. But if I work, I work. If I don't, I don't. That's okay. So long as I can afford to pay the mortgage, put food on the table.
Yeah.
And so long as I'm fulfilled, don't have to be doing 7 things at once.
Yeah. No, that's...
I mean, now listen, when we go back to normal, don't expect to live by that.
Absolutely. But that is such a good... I'm exactly the same. Like, I put so much pressure on myself to do all the things. Yeah. But actually, something that's very important is not to do nothing, but just not put the pressure on yourself to complete all the tasks, that you're the only one, that's put that pressure on yourself. So, yeah, it's okay to take a rest, for sure.
Exactly. And look after oneself, because, this is it. We can only do it once.
We can only do it once is a very good place to end, I think.
Done with you. I'm done. I've done my work
with you. Danielle Tarento, everyone.
Thank you for having me, darling. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you so much.